We are live. We are live. Welcome to college football's Peek Around the Corner with your host, Greg Pflugar. We cover everything in college football because we love everything in college football. And if you do as well, please subscribe to our channel. Smash the like button. If you like our content, share the video with your family and friends. If you want to support the show through a donation, hit the $ when you make the comment, and I'll get to your super chat as quick as I possibly can. Welcome into the studio that sits on the very corner of Keith Jackson Parkway in Kurt Gowdy Avenue. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid to be a legend. With your comments in the chat room and with your phone calls later in the show, welcome on in. It is a Monday morning, a lazy Monday morning, March 25th. It's going to be a very important week here in college football. And, you know, I think it's the calm before the storm. We did a live show on Saturday night is all right for PATC, where we set the table. We do believe, I just lost my notes. We do believe that, now where'd that go? Where did that go? Where did that go? We do believe that, we're going to give you guys a heads up. We don't know exactly what it's going to look like, but we did get some information about Clemson's next move, and we're just going to give you guys a heads up for this week. I did lose something here. Oh, there it is. There it is. Holy smokes, this organization is all over the place. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the divorce settlement is final between Oregon State, Washington State, and the other 10 departing schools. You probably have seen that report. We're going to go through it real quick. Then we're going to talk about the Spotlight team. The Spotlight team for today, Monday, March 25th, is the Purdue Boilermakers 2024 football season. We're going to start with that. We're going to do the old spotlight on Purdue. We've been scattering the country, going scattershot throughout the country, doing spotlights on all different teams all over the place. Today it's Purdue. We've been covering everybody. Indiana, Ohio State, Tennessee, TCU, Houston. Been going all over the place. Today it's the Purdue Boilermakers. Okay, and we've done Notre Dame, we've done Indiana, so we're going to finish up the state of Indiana today by doing the Purdue Boilermakers. First of all, I want to thank everybody for coming on in at the beginning of the show. Again, this is the calm before the storm. But we've got a little bit of a heads up, so we're going to give you a heads up on maybe the storm is going to be coming a little bit sooner this week than I think people expect. We'll get into that. Skoducky is in the house. John Till down in Kansas. John Menser, thanks for coming on in. MGC Sooner. Jeff Jorgensen, great. Randy Taylor. Hola. Caleb Ramirez. Larry, the GM. Go Cyclones, Matt Neeson. Jim Reese. Illini Ted, Clemson alumnus. Expedition Greg. Cam and B, Rock, Chalk, J, Hot, GT. Susan is back here. Clemson reveals more dirt on the ACC. Don't exactly know. Now, Clemson did not really reveal dirt. They didn't reveal the dirt. They just pointed to where it was. And that is that ACC ESPN media agreement. Clemson is pointing, there it is. There's the dirt. But we can't see it. And we don't know if that information is going to be completely sealed or not. That's one of the big highlights that is going on in Mecklenburg County, the decision that Judge Cooper has to make, Florida State versus ACC. But we'll talk about Clemson here in a little bit. Stephen McNeely is in the house. John Bennett, Ma Prof Baylor, Bear Patrick is here. No question about it. Cornelius Green, praise the Lord, Greg. Absolutely. FSU 11 is here. James Foster, go Sun Devils. Donald Duck, Jen Knoll, hey guys, Immaculate. The Hawkeye, Stephen Clark, Almighty Finn, Ryan Brooks, LSU Tigers is here. The Architect, Jared Jones, Mr. Buckeye D5 Terps, Mr. Terrapin for the Canes, Mr. Hurricane, Dr. Alice Smith, Taylor Mott, Lee, Heartbreak 25, Terry Kane, Eric Phillips, Richard L., Grateful Trojan. Be careful, Donald Duck, if you are trolling. Just be careful. Else you'll be out of here pretty quick. Brett Taylor is in the house. When will North Carolina file the suit? Okay, we are going to learn a lot about North Carolina, I believe. On March 28th, this Thursday. Now, I've got a question for you all. I've got a question. So we know where this is going to be streamed live. And I think it's going to start real early in the morning. I'm thinking like 8 or 9 o'clock Eastern time. It could be 7 o'clock Central time. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Immaculate or Jen or people in the chat who run YouTube channels, I believe I'm okay with putting that stream on my channel so where everybody can see it. Because it's a North Carolina public institution, right? I think we can sit here and watch it together. Now, a lot of it's not going to be very interesting. I think the latter half of the meeting is going to be interesting. I think it's going to be very interesting. But I think I'm okay with that because I'm not taking anybody's... it's public. Yeah, Immaculate says, I would think it's fair to share it's public. I was told by somebody before I came on live that they thought I would not get in trouble with YouTube. It's like when somebody on YouTube shares a press conference in the sheriff's county department because they're making an announcement of a capture or whatever. That's a public entity. If it's public, I think you can show it. So I think possibly Thursday morning when you wake up, I'm just going to have it going live. And you can see the stream. I'll make comments from time to time. And then when it gets to that second half, I think it's going to be very interesting. You see here in number 5, the Board of Trustees, the chair remarks. John Pryor is going to make some remarks. Then Lee Roberts, the interim chancellor, is going to be making some remarks. So anyways, I think we're going to be covering that. I think that's how we're going to do it. Thursday morning, so PATC breakfast, be here Thursday morning. Big Dog Daddy, thank you so much for your generosity. Thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate it. Helping us keep the lights on. Thank you so very much. Carrie Goldnose is in the house. Stephen Vict, Laura Weiss, the Red Raider, Rocket Rant. I think I'm okay. Thank you, Mr. Hurricane. Jen Nose says I'm good. I think that's what we're going to do. Now, a lot of it's going to be But, but come in and out of the live stream, and when it gets interesting, I'll put something out on my X account at Flug Empire, and they're going to say something. John Pryor's definitely going to say something, and I believe probably the interim chancellor as well. Okay, first of all, let's get to a couple things here. April 13th, April 20th, for the first time in history, those spring football games, the Buckeyes and the Wolverines are not going to be on the Big Ten Network. They're going to be on Fox. Are you kidding me? They're going to be on Fox. Now, ESPN, the last 2 years ago, they did the USC Trojans spring football game. Of course, I made a comment. This is back in 2022. I made a comment saying that will be the last spring game that ESPN has of USC because they're going to the Big Ten. And then, before it was announced, and then last year they did Colorado, ESPN. Got some good ratings. We did the game. We did a watch party. I can guarantee you this. Peek Around the Corner is going to be doing at least one of these two, if not both, of these spring football games watch parties. We're talking about everything college football, and then we're keeping an eye on the spring game. You know, the Buckeyes have got a quarterback battle going on for QB2, QB3, QB4, and I got a feeling that one of those guys are going to be going in the portal soon after that spring football game. Just my hunch. And of course, Michigan has a big, fierce quarterback battle going on for QB1. Anyway, so there's that. Of course, Hockey Frozen 4. I know this is a college football YouTube channel, but my beloved Minnesota Golden Gophers playing Omaha in Sioux City. Sioux Falls, Minnesota. Omaha, the winner goes against Boston University, most likely the number 2 seed overall. Minnesota Golden Gophers took a step back this year. Not likely to win a national championship. My heart is not going to break too much this year because last year they should have won it. They lost in the championship game, whatever. But there it is, the men's ice hockey championship. It's all on the line. Boston College, the number 1 seed. Boston University, the number 2 seed. Denver, number 3. Michigan State Spartans. Congratulations to the Spartans. First Big Ten regular season championship, tournament championship for the Michigan State Spartans. The program, the men's hockey program, has gotten off the mat. And once again, congratulations to the Ohio State Buckeyes women's hockey team winning the national championship for the second time in 3 years. Now, my beloved Minnesota women's hockey used to dominate women's hockey. But we got to get it back together, Gophers. We've got to get it back together. So we're going to hit the next story we're going to hit here. Pac-12, front office sports, Amanda Kristovich. The Pac-12's departing members have inked their divorce contract. It's done. The settlement agreement obtained by front office sports is a direct resolution to a lawsuit brought this past fall. Oregon State, Washington State will likely have more than $100 million in cash to start their new 2-member conference. It's not going to be a 2-member conference for long, right? It's going to be an 8-member conference at some point, at least 8. There's really not it probably won't be more than 8, but we'll see what happens there. But Oregon State, Washington State, when do they start having those conversations with the Mountain West schools, the top-level Mountain West schools? When do they have? They probably already had started their conversations with potential media partners for this new created G5 conference starting in 2026. But they've got the cash. On Monday, 12 existing schools confirmed that they have signed a settlement agreement regarding revenue distribution and voting rights in the Pac-12 going forward. We do provide a link in the description on this front office sports article if you want to read the whole thing. The settlement is a direct resolution to the lawsuit brought by Oregon State, Washington State last fall over who had voting power on the conference board, and therefore the ability to control all its assets, intellectual property, and even potential dissolution. And I got to say, Washington State and Oregon State, they won this case. Maybe they didn't get to eat everything, but they ate a lot here on this case. The conference's two remaining members, Washington State and Oregon State, appear to have a 9-figure financial cushion to use going forward. And they're making a whole lot of money in this NCAA tournament. They're making some money. They're making some NCAA tourney credits, up to $20 million, according to The Athletic, that they just put on an article a few minutes ago. This cushion, as well as the entire conference, is now under the direction and leadership of new Commissioner Teresa Gould, who began a 2-year tenure March 1st. But the 10 departing schools will each be able to take all but $6.5 million of their full 2024 conference distribution to their new homes, according to a copy of the agreement obtained by Front Office Sports. The leftover total of $65 million, made up of 2 separate fees, will remain with the conference and be in control of Washington State and Oregon State going forward. As expected, the schools will not have any claims to future revenue, with a few exceptions, all of which were redacted from the contract. There was a lot here we could not see, but that's okay. We all know where this is going. The rest of the cushion will come from the conference's other assets. Their exact amount is unclear, but court documents suggested the conference had $43 million in net assets in 2022, excluding the Pac-12 networks, which brought in about $50 million in net revenue. If the conference dissolves before the last day of the fiscal 2026, assets will be distributed among Washington State and Oregon State, as well as the departing schools. Do not look for that to happen. But if the conference dissolves after that date, where there's going to be this new conference created in 2026 after the last day of the fiscal year, and I believe that is July 1st, 2026. It could be officially August 1st, because the Pac-12 was weird. It's probably July 1st, but there is a chance that it's August 1st. But if the conference dissolves after that, Oregon State and Washington State can split the spoils for themselves. It's highly likely that the latter situation will come to pass, given that Washington State and Oregon State have solidified their participation in college football playoffs for the next 2 years. And the conference has scheduling partnerships for all sports between now and the end of 25-26. So in other words, what does all that mean? Oregon State and Washington State football programs are going to be independent, quasi-independent football programs for the next 2 years. Then, whatever conference gets created from Oregon State, Washington State, that will become official probably the day after or the week after or a month after the Pac-12 officially dissolves. Okay. And then finally in the article, as for the voting power, the main question in the lawsuit this fall, the Pac-12's departed schools have agreed to voting power only for issues that impact the 2024 season. They also have agreed not to attempt to dissolve the conference. Fair and equitable, Schultz and Murthy, the presidents of Washington State and Oregon State, the departing schools said they were pleased to finalize the agreement. So there it is. Pac-12 divorce is finally settled. Thank you, Ryan Willie, the evil Badger. Greg, will you sing On Wisconsin when the Badgers defeat the Gophers on November 30th? The evil Badger is back. Will I sing On Wisconsin? Let's have that discussion in late September. I've got to see my Max Brosmere play some quarterback first. A lot of good reports coming out of spring camp about Max Brosmere. Let's have that conversation third or fourth week in September. But thank you for the super chat. Ryan Willie, thank you so much for your generosity. I do appreciate it. But we're not going to be talking about the Badgers or the Gophers. We're going to be talking about the Purdue Boilermakers. Before we get to the Clemson story, what is their next move? Gary Gold knows, Craig, all will be well when we see Miami in the Big 12. Don't think that's going to happen. I don't think that's going to happen. Thank you for the super chat. Gary, I do appreciate your generosity. I will say this. It looks like I'm becoming I'm part of the minority that thinks Miami will have a landing spot in the Power 2, and that's okay. I feel comfortable being in that minority. I think people are overshooting once again what an athletic director says in public. There is a reason here at Peek Around the Corner in the Holy Smokes Theater. There's a reason why we have Florida State in the center. And they did their action. We had Clemson at the edge of the stage with the spotlight barely touching them. There's a reason why we had them second. There's a reason why we have North Carolina third, holding hands with Clemson. And there's a reason why we have Miami fourth. And then we have Notre Dame in the shadows on the stage. We just don't do this. We have reasons for it. And since the Holy Smokes Theater has opened up here in Peek Around the Corner community, it's been pretty spot on in the Big 12 saga, here in the ACC saga. Notre Dame, Jack Swarbrick, the athletic director, retiring today or early. Is today his retirement day? I don't remember. It's soon if it's not today. Jack Swarbrick basically said in Dennis Dodd's CBS article, doesn't look, Notre Dame's not looking to make a move. We think the ACC has a good case against the ACC schools, and he doesn't see any further realignment. He knows that there's some grumbling from the ACC schools, and it's why we have Notre Dame in the shadows. We never had them 1, 2, 3. Miami hit the fourth spot. Notre Dame's got to wait. Notre Dame has made the decision to wait to see what everything else happens in front of them. So again, people are kind of overshooting on the Jack Swarbrick statement. Those statements are no surprise. None. And Miami's athletic director's statement shouldn't have not come as a surprise, but it seemed to rattle a lot of people. Nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. Everybody's waiting to see what happens in Mecklenburg County this week, in Pickens County, and we got some information to give you. A little bit of information on Clemson's next move. It could be soon. It could be soon. So keep your head on a swivel. Thank you for the generosity. Carrie, Gold knows I do appreciate it. Let's talk Purdue. Let's talk Purdue. The spotlight team is the Purdue Boilermakers for March 25th. Who's going to be the spotlight team for tomorrow? You're just going to have to find out. You're just going to have to find out. Hudson Card, transfer quarterback, comes from Texas to Purdue. Ryan Walters, the new head football coach last year at Purdue, came from Illinois, the great defensive coordinator, did a great job for Illinois, comes over. Hudson Card did not have a great year. A little nicked up, He has gained 20 pounds. Hudson Card, he's still skinny, but he's gained over 20 pounds. That's the report coming out of West Lafayette. But he's not the only person who has gained weight like the fat guy from Minnesota. Purdue's offensive line, now, for those outside the Big Ten, Purdue has been the finesse team in the Big Ten West, which no longer exists. They've been the finesse team. They've always had the smallest offensive line. But this is the biggest offensive line anybody has seen in West Lafayette. They're huge. They're big. Now, are they going to be any good? I don't know. We're just going to have to wait to find out. But they have changed. Ryan Walters is not... He's not the former coach who went off to Louisville, ACC, and is running a track meet there in Louisville, Kentucky. Ryan Walters is a little different, and his offensive line is big. Now, Maccabee, the running back, is coming back this year, 2024. 2 years ago, he was a bit of a surprise. Had a really good season. Averaged 5 yards a rush. Last year, Devin Maccabee, their RB1, or kind of RB1 last year, he declined a little bit. Average 4 yards, 4.7. Rushing yards went down. Maybe this is why Ryan Walters is beefing up the offensive line. They had a Tyrone Tracy who did nothing early in his career. First 4 years. But then he erupted last year. Had a great year for Purdue. Averaged like 6.7 yards per rush. He's in the NFL draft. Just went through the NFL combine. So it's Devin Maccabee behind the big offensive line. Can they get Maccabee going here for 2024? We shall see. The wide receivers, Purdue has always had good wide receivers under Jeff Brown. There is quite the change at Purdue's wide receiver room. Quite the change. Deion Burks, their best returning wide receiver, went in the portal. Burks went in the portal, and now he's with the Oklahoma Sooners. And reports are he's having a good camp. You go watch his interviews in Oklahoma, Norman, Oklahoma. And then Sheffield, TJ Sheffield. Second best receiver coming back, supposedly coming back. No, Sheffield went into the portal. Committed to Michigan State early. But then suddenly, right before Michigan State Spartans spring camp opens, Sheffield decides to go back in the portal. And I believe that is where he is today. Sheffield's going to get picked up by somebody after the spring football games are over. Sheffield's going to be picked up by injuries. Some team is going to be going, oh my goodness, we're pretty weak here. And TJ Sheffield is going to get a call. Why did he decommit from Michigan State? I do not know, but anyways, that's another. He's not going back to Purdue, it sounds like. So Purdue has lost some their returning guys with production. Purdue ain't quite replacing those guys with production. They're replacing those guys with a whole lot of promise. C.J. Smith, the transfer from Georgia. Fast, lightning speed, Olympic speed. C.J. Smith, keep an eye on him. Are they going to be able to develop him at Purdue? He's got all the speed, all the talent in the world, but can they develop him? C.J. Smith, the transfer out of Georgia Bulldogs. That was a big pickup. Cam Brown, who's been Texas A&M, UCLA, had some production at UCLA. The Purdue Boilermakers pick up Cam Brown in the portal. Can he finally produce? Can he finally get it going? And then 2 years ago, Jamal Edrine, the wide receiver from FAU, had a really good year 2 years ago. Last year, Purdue, he gets an ACL injury. They think he's ready to go. So there's a lot of promise in the Purdue wide receiver room. But not a whole lot of production, pass production. It's very risky here, Purdue's wide receiver room. Again, they might be going to a little bit more of a running attack at West Lafayette under Ryan Walters. And when you talk about defense, people are very excited about the rush ends this year, but of course it has to be about their safety. Dylan Thieneman. He had a remarkable year last year. Dylan Thieneman, true freshman last year, over 100 tackles, all true freshman, All-American, 6 interceptions. He is the leader coming back, big-time safety for the Purdue Boilermakers. He grew up a couple blocks away from the stadium in West Lafayette. I think a couple blocks away, maybe a mile away. He always wanted to be a Boilermaker. They got him, and he turned it on in his true freshman season. They're moving their really good linebacker, Caden Jenkins, from outside linebacker to inside linebacker. He was their third leading tackler last year. He's their first leading tackler coming back. So that's the Purdue Boilermakers. That's the spotlight. Their football schedule is interesting. I'll put it up on the screen here. They've got 6 road games. You don't see that very often. A lot of P5 programs, they adjust their schedules to where it's 5 road games, 7 at home. But this year it's 6 on the road. Pretty interesting. We're going to find out what happens. They play Penn State, Michigan State, Indiana, Ohio State, Northwestern in the back half. They play Nebraska at West Lafayette on September 28th. Can they get to 6 wins? Indiana State Sycamores in state game. Can the Purdue Boilermakers get to 6 games? Well, they need Hudson Card. He completed 58% of his passes last year, threw about 15 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. He had a quarterback rating below 130, which is low for a starting quarterback college football. They need that Texas Longhorn, Hudson Card, who showed flashes of brilliance at Texas. They need him to show up. But that wide receiver room, high on potential, low on pass production. We should see what happens with the Boilermakers. Okay, that is your spotlight. Purdue Boilermakers, March 25th. Let me know how wrong I got it on Purdue. Let me know how wrong I got it. Do you think their quarterback QB2, Ryan Brown, is going to take over, for example? Ryan Brown, mid 3-star quarterback out of the state of New York. Is he going to take over for Hudson Card if Card struggles again at the early part of this year in 2024? Just let me know how wrong I got it for the Purdue Boilermakers going into 2024. Okay, now let's talk about Clemson. John Teal, if ACC keeps Miami, Notre Dame, and backfield, that's a Big 12, better Big 12. One of the, let me fill up my Cloak and Dagger mug here. One of the the largest variable in all of this, does ESPN by their invisible hand make this happen? If they do, then this could all go one way. But if they don't, and if there's a true settlement, that number of what that settlement is going to be is a massive variable. If it's big, if it's a big number, and there's still a few schools willing to pay out, the ACC is probably going to stay together. You just saw the money that Oregon State and Washington State are going to get, and that wasn't based upon exit fees. That was based upon other things. Can you imagine the money that those those ACC schools are going to make if 4 ACC schools are willing to pay a big, massive number to get out of the conference? But if it's a smaller number, if we're talking 100 million or $0 or whatever, then the Big 12's ability to eat at the ACC table grows. That number, what that payout number is, that settlement number, is a huge variable that we don't know. Maybe we'll see what happens. Maybe there's an upset this week. Maybe Judge Cooper in Mecklenburg County basically shuts down ACC's case in Mecklenburg County, dismisses the whole thing. Then we have to look at what happens in Leon County. Probably not going to happen, but let's just take it day by day. This is the calm before the storm. This might be our calmest day of the week here, Monday, March 25th. However, even though it's calm, now this is not tied, as far as I know, what I'm about to show you isn't tied directly to what we're hearing about Clemson's next move. It might be, but we don't have it confirmed at all. This is probably a nothing burger, but I just wanted to put it out there for you. So just everybody relax. We have no confirmation at all that this is tied to what I'm about to tell you about Clemson, okay? Whoops. Hold on. I screwed up. Hold on. Holy cow. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. How am I going to fix this? I think I can do it. Okay, let's go this way. Sorry, guys. I apologize. The host of the show is a complete idiot. Clemson put out, they snuck it out there this afternoon. They put out a compensation committee meeting for tomorrow. Again, it's about the approval of the women's basketball coach's contract, Graham Neff. The agenda, Smith McKissick, introduction, executive session. And I know they started the search for the new women's basketball coach, correct? I think they just fired somebody a couple weeks ago. So I don't know. Did they already hire somebody? I have not heard that. Maybe they did. I apologize. I run a college football YouTube channel. I don't know much about anything. I don't know if maybe Clemson's already hired somebody. But this is the main part of the meeting tomorrow. Tomorrow, March 26, 3:30 Eastern Time. Then it says other business. Smith McKissick. We're going to keep an eye. Again, this is not directly tied to what we have been told here at Peek Around the Corner. Clemson's next move. We have not, so we don't know. Keep an eye on if there's any news coming out of a executive session in regards to what McKissick said. We shall see. But there is other business. Clemson, no official has really talked yet after they didn't talk for months before they filed a lawsuit in Pickens County where they wanted a declaratory statement in Pickens County against the ACC. They didn't say anything for months before. Nobody has said anything after. This is the first meeting. This compensation meeting is the first non-quarterly meeting they have put on their website for over a year. And they slid it in there this afternoon. I don't think anyone else noticed. We did. We were told about it. Don't know if that has anything, what Smith McKissick is going to say, potentially about Clemson, ACC. Probably, maybe nothing. But I just wanted to show that. And who is this gentleman? Well, you know what? I don't have that picture either. Anyway, so I just wanted to give you a heads up on that. Now, before, let me just check something here. So, as the I'm keeping my head on a swivel. Got to keep your head on a swivel this week. We have been told through the same path of information about Clemson being hot, being upset. Clemson, going to be fireworks soon. We said that on March 15th. It's going to happen soon. That same information pathway that got to us is telling us something else again. And I have forwarded this information on to a couple people, lawyers and people who would understand when and if this happens. But we expect a Clemson to take action in Mecklenburg County soon. Not today soon, although, but not today soon, but soon. So maybe tomorrow. We think there's going to be some filing of Clemson in Mecklenburg County, possibly tomorrow. But it's going to be soon. People gave us that information. Of course, it's not direct first-hand information. No. It's not even second-hand, but it's the same information path that told us, they gave us the peek, and we're going to give you the peek around the corner, that Clemson isn't done. There's going to be a motion in Mecklenburg County. What they're going to say, we do not know. No way would we be told. No way do the people we talk to even know. But there is fire and smoke is following that Clemson is going to do something in Mecklenburg County soon. So keep your head on a swivel. I have passed that information on. To a few people. They've got it. And we're going to keep looking for it. And when it hits, we're going to be coming live here at Peek Around the Corner. We don't believe it was going to happen today. Else I would have done this earlier and No, not today. but as soon as tomorrow. Let me get to some of your comments here. Ryan Thomas, the ACC can lose 3 to 4 schools, but that means ESPN doesn't exercise its option. If it does, it's $20 million or less per school. That isn't save the ACC. Also with Florida State and Clemson, the ACC playoff payouts plummet. That they do. Again, a lot of it's going to be determined on. A lot of it's going to be determined on what is that number on the payout, if there is a settlement payout, which I think there's going to be. I understand. I've read all the articles that everyone else has on Miami Hurricanes. Where do I buy a mug? You know what? I will. I do not have a link provided in the description box. Let me see. Let me see something here. If you want to buy some mugs, t-shirts, keep your head on a swivel t-shirt, go to cfbpatc.com. CFB, college football, cfbpatc.com. And you can get your head on a swivel, the mugs, the trucker hat, the hoodies, and we're going to be updating this for the next football season coming up probably early this summer. New t-shirts, we've got a new logo, we're going to be making new mugs, all that. So if you want to buy some merchandise, cfbpatc.com. Let's see here. Greg, you might want to sell mugs and t-shirts. We do. We do. I do a terrible job marketing the show. No question about it. I don't even think I've had that link in the description box lately. We do sell mugs. We do sell t-shirts. Go to cfbpatc.com, and there it is. It's really easy to use. So go on to it and buy some mugs, buy some t-shirts, buy some trucker hats. I do appreciate your generosity. Kerry Gold knows, once again, thank you so very much. Go buy the mug. Steven loves his mug. It's up on his avatar. You see that? Right there. They're nice mugs. They are nice mugs. You can put them in the microwave, coffee, what have you. Holy smokes. Ryan Willie, thank you so much, the Evil Badger, for your gift membership. My goodness. My goodness. Ryan Willie, once again, you are knighted Cloak and Dagger. And Ryan has gifted 5 memberships. 5 memberships. Chad Bracey, Hidden Music, Buckshot Kid, the Big Lubbock 4637 Warrior. Please, all of you say thank you to Mr. Ryan Willie, the evil Badger. He's evil because he's a Badger. He's also incredibly generous and a very valuable member of the PATC community. Give Mr. Ryan Willie a thank you. Chad Bracey, Hidden H Music, Buckshot Kid, the Big Lubbock, 4637 Warrior. You are all here by Cloak and Dagger United. We're hoping to drop another Cloak and Dagger episode tomorrow morning or late tonight. If you want to become a member, there is a link provided in the description box. Go to the link, hit it, you get to our YouTube channel, hit the join button, and become a member of this growing college football, national college football YouTube channel, where you get members only episodes before we talk about the situation, the information, the Cloak and Dagger nuggets of information before we go on live. Go join. Now, before we open up the phone line, and we're going to open it up, I just want to quickly talk about Dennis Dodd's article here. Dennis Dodd's article. Jack Swarbrick, exiting Notre Dame athletic director, addresses expansion, realignment, and college sports' immensely uncertain future. Jack Swarbrick sits down for an exit interview with CBS Sports' Dennis Dodd. Jack Swarbrick, we're not going to go through the whole thing. We're just going to highlight just going to make the highlight comments here. Swarbrick wants a moment of Nick Saban's time. Left the Fighting Irish after 16 years on Monday. Yes, it's today. It's today. Pete Bavakwa is his replacement. Swarbrick recently spoke with CBS. He talks about the fast-growing changes in college football, college athletics. Notre Dame, according to Dennis Dodd, can still look at itself in the mirror as a university legitimately attempting to balance academics and athletics. Its football independence has never been more solid, according to Dennis Dodd. Combining revenue from NBC and ESPN, Notre Dame is believed to be making somewhere north of $60 million. I don't know how we could know that. We do not know that. We just don't know that. Swarbrick suggested there could be further financial disparity in the near future as schools distribute enhanced CFP revenue once the new contract begins in 26. A key question of whether Notre Dame will get preferred access to the CFP beyond at-large status remains to be determined. Really? Interesting. Remains to be determined. Going to skip a lot of this. This isn't really something that we're interested here on this episode, live show, March 25th. Swarbrick on 12 teams or 14 teams for the playoff. Swarbrick says, I don't think it makes a lot of difference. More opportunities for people is generally good, so I'm fine with 14. I think 12 creates more values in terms of extra first-round buys. I could go either way. And of course, those first round buys for 24 and 25, Notre Dame cannot get those. But can they get them when they figure out the 2026 and beyond? Probably not, but it hasn't been determined. The playoff format for 2026 and beyond has not been determined. Swarbrick talks about Marcus Freeman, believes he has the best staff they've seen there in a long time. Now, that begs the question, with all this realignment, where does it stop, particularly with Florida State and Clemson wanting out of the ACC? Swarbrick, my crystal ball is cloudier than it's ever been. That's saying something. I don't see a lot of momentum towards further realignment right now. There are some schools that, if they made a move, might change that. But frankly, we're probably first among that, but we're not likely to. In other words, Notre Dame is not going to be the first one out of the gate. They weren't. They weren't going to be the second one out of the gate. They weren't. They're not going to be the third. They're not going to be the fourth. Here at Peek Around the Corner, we're pretty strong on that. That's why they're in the shadows. They're up on the stage, but they're the fifth one. They're in the shadows. We got North Carolina and Miami possibly making a move before Notre Dame. I don't see the catalyst right now, Swarbrick says. The Big Ten and the SEC have the assets they need to position themselves for the next media negotiation. I understand the ACC has disgruntled members, but I'm not sure there are better options for them. The ACC's legal position is a very strong one. Now, again, this is an athletic director. His last days today. He's been around for 15 years. The arrangement between ACC and Notre Dame has benefited Notre Dame. We still think the walls are closing in on Notre Dame, but it doesn't have to do with anything about the ACC. It has to do with other things. These conferences getting more power to decide, collective bargaining agreement, and all that. Swarbrick, I understand the ACC has disgruntled members, but I'm not sure there are better options for them. The ACC's legal position is a very strong one. It doesn't surprise anybody in the PATC community that Notre Dame, who has voting rights, one of the 15 schools in the ACC, even though they're not a football member, they have voting rights. No surprise to anybody in the PATC community that Notre Dame has been, well, one of the votes that has acquiesced to Jim Phillips in filing, at least of January 12th, extended complaint in Mecklenburg County against Florida State. Notre Dame is a vote in Jim Phillips' pocket when it comes to all of this. And then it goes on and talks about other stuff. That's all we're going to do on that. So, again, no surprise there. No surprise there from our standpoint here at Peek Around the Corner. Ryan Willie, I like the Evil Badger. You're not the only one who I call the Evil Badger. Jeff Olson, a really good friend of mine. A really good friend of mine who comes in the chat. I call him the Evil Badger as well. Why? Because he's a Badger fan, obviously. Swarbrick has his eggs in multiple baskets. True. But today was his last day. The article goes on. He's still going to be a consultant for Notre Dame, obviously. He's still going to be in there, right? He's still going to be in there. What's Dodd's angle? I think there is really nothing in there that should be surprising. Now, we talked about 6 months ago, 8 months ago, 10 months ago. What if Notre Dame was the first one to pull the trigger? Everything would be a whole lot easier. But they're not going to be. They were never going to be the first one. We put Florida State at the center of the stage. We put Clemson next, North Carolina next, Miami next. And again, for those who have showed up a little bit later, March 28th, this Thursday, here at Peek Around the Corner. March 28th, this Thursday. And this thing is going to start soon. I think it's 9 a.m. Eastern Time, 8 o'clock Central Time. We're going to be doing a live stream of the University of North Carolina Chapel Hill meeting. And I believe on a YouTube, we can go 12 hours, correct? 12 hours? We're going to be covering this live. Now, I'm not going to be in the studio for the whole thing. I'm going to be bouncing in and out. But I'm going to be having it up on my channel starting a little bit before 8 o'clock in the morning. I don't expect anything to be of what we're interested in until about noonish. John Pryor, the Board of Trustees, is going to have some remarks. And then the Chancellor of North Carolina, the interim Chancellor, is going to have some remarks. And I think that's going to be a very interesting day in North Carolina Chapel Hill. And then, as we discovered this afternoon, Clemson's, I'll put it up on the board here real quick. Tomorrow, 3:30 Eastern Time, the Clemson's University Board of Trustees is going to have a compensation committee meeting about the approval of the women's basketball coach contract. And that might be what it all is. But it says other business, Smith McKissick. This is the first meeting that has been added on to the Clemson Board of Trustees website for over a year. That is not a quarterly meeting. And they just put this in there a little bit before we came on live. And then our main story. Look, we don't have the exact time. We don't even have, of course, the information, the exact information. But we have been given a heads up. This is college football's Peek Around the Corner. We have been told by the same information path, that's the only way I can describe it, the same people who described to us that Clemson is about to pull the trigger. We thought it was going to happen January 20th to February 6th. It did not happen. But on March 15th, we said fireworks happening soon. Those same source of information is telling us that Clemson is about to file a motion. They probably have already done so. I don't know. In Mecklenburg County. So keep your head on a swivel about Mecklenburg County. Again, there's nothing. I haven't checked it. I haven't checked it for a while. I'll do a quick check on it. By the way, if you want to see the amended Gore in 2026, go to the Mecklenburg County court case of ACC versus FSU, and go to the January 17th and click the exhibit 2 is for the ACC Gore, and exhibit 7 is for the 2016 amendment to that Gore. If you want to see that, let me just show you. Let me show you where we're at in Mecklenburg County. Again, just give me a little bit of a time here. Give me a little bit of be patient with me. Again, at the end of that, at the end of March 22nd, Friday, FSU, North Carolina, we covered it. Basically, there was a handshake, right? There was a handshake. There wasn't going to be any more action. No more filings between Florida State and the ACC until we see a judge ruling, okay, in Mecklenburg County. But this is about Clemson. We believe, we've been told. I'm gonna update this. Hold on, everybody. We have been told, keep your head on a swivel. Okay. So, again, the last, if you check the docket for Mecklenburg County, Atlantic Coast Conference versus Clemson University, it's 3/21/2024. We've been told something's going to happen soon. This is Clemson filing a motion in Mecklenburg County, and it's not going to happen today. But that was the thought. Soon, it's going to happen soon, but not today. So keep your head on a swivel. We wanted to give you the heads up. Okay? You can go to ncbc.nccourts.org/public/. That's the link. Okay. So we're going to open up the phone lines here. 763-260-1333. 763-260-1333. Give us a call about anything in college football. We have gone around the bend talking about the spring football games being at Michigan and Ohio State being on Fox. Holy smokes. April 13th, April 20th. So the Big Ten Network, they're not going to have the Buckeyes or the Michigan spring games. They're going to have everybody else. Gophers are not going to have a spring football game. But I think pretty much everybody else is. I'm not sure. Ohio State, Michigan, April 13th, April 20th. Hockey Frozen 4. Then we did the article on the Pac-12's departing members have inked their divorce contract. And I got to say, Oregon State, Washington State did about as well as they possibly could have done in that divorce settlement.
Call from
Cameron B.
I'm sorry, did not get the name?
Cameron B.
All right, sir, the floor is yours. What do you got to say?
Yeah, it's interesting how this is all playing out. And what are your thoughts on, like, what if it doesn't go the school's way? What if it all goes the ACC's way?
If we get some sort of obvious that it's coming down the road that the ACC's Gore is completely valid. There is no case. Are you still there? I had no idea what's going on.
Call from
Jeff Fuller.
Jeff Fuller, can you hold a second? We lost the previous caller. I hope it's not the phone system again. So, Jeff, if I lose you, it's not me hanging up on you. The last phone call it just dropped. But
I'm here right now if you can hear me.
Yep, I can hear you. You sound good too. The last call came in fine, but then he dropped off. Maybe that was his plan. I don't know. But to answer his question, if the ACC rocks and rolls, and if it seems obvious, or we do get a decision years down the road, look, I don't think this is ever going to get to the spot where Florida State actually wins the case, or Clemson wins the case. I think it only can get to a spot where things are looking good for Florida State and Clemson, to where they can get a settlement that they can live with, that the ACC can live with. So this, to me, is still all about leverage. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the ACC is willing to do all the discovery. I don't think so. Maybe, but I think Florida. This is my strongly held opinion from all the people, all the chatter, all what's been told to us, is that Florida State and Clemson are not going to be in the ACC 3 years from now. But they may have to pay more than they were hoping to get out. That is my strongly held opinion. Mr. Jeff Fuller, thanks for calling. The floor is yours.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see it all play out. How much they have, what kind of settlement they can reach, how many are joining on. Will they get full shares? That's a big question, and that may change their calculus. And Swarbrick's, comments were interesting. Maybe, I assume he knows quite a bit, but again, he's been on the way out, and I don't know if his sources are, the older guard, and I know some of Dennis Dodd's, sources have maybe burnt out. That's sort of the scuttlebutt of what people are saying, but he still is, I think much more connected than average Joe, and has a lot of information there. And it's just a direct interview. He's quoting what he and Swarbrick, were conversing about. I'm interested to see. Tell me if you think this is the Big Ten's strategy with Notre Dame. There's an old joke. It says, if I had $1 for every woman who found me unattractive, they'd eventually find me attractive.
That's a good one.
Is that the Big Ten strategy? Because that seems what it's been, and delaying the playoff, the whole alliance, which sort of a big reason for that was Warren wanted to eat first as a conference before he was trying to shore up membership and get the schools in and sort of redo the media deal, and he was able to eat at the media table before the college football playoff did, and I wonder if some other conferences are sort of smarting at that, where the playoff had been projected to be worth up to $2 billion per year, but as the media landscape changed, the Big Ten ate at the right time, I guess you could say. And would they get the same contract today as they did then? Probably not quite as good, but they deserved a great contract. But are the other conferences sort of smarting at that and sort of maybe a little frustrated with the Big Ten, or jealous of the Big Ten and sort of delaying things? I know Swarbrick mentioned in that interview with Dodd that sort of how Sankey had said a lot of this could have been worked out before, and but the alliance sort of put things off at least a year or two. That's one comment, and then I have a question for you later about something you said on a previous show about Yormark playing cloak and dagger. Go ahead with just sort of your opinion on what I mentioned there about sort of the media landscape changing and what might happen there.
Well, I don't know if I really understood I understand your comments. I don't quite understand the question, but
I guess the question
yeah.
the question is, do you feel like the college football playoff would have had a bigger payout per conference, per team, if it could have gone earlier, as it was scheduled to happen, when Sankey and Swarbrick and Bowlesby and Craig Thompson, those four sort of hashed out and everyone was like, hey, yeah, we're on board. And then, obviously the Texas-Oklahoma news, a lot of people pushed the pause button, threw up their arms in frustration. And then the alliance forms, and then here we are. Could this and should this have been worked out a couple years back? And would college football be in a better situation where there was more money to spread around to all the conferences with a better playoff contract?
Sure. I mean, sure. Yes, there could have been more money, but when Sankey and Bowlesby was in the room together, Texas and Oklahoma called it the SEC. There was reasons why it kept getting put off. Then there was the alliance, but then USC called the Big Ten. I mean, there was just reasons, continuous reasons, and one is no more valid than the other in my mind. Even with Washington State fighting this model to make sure they get something back, and I think they got something back when they got a little bit higher playoff distribution here at the end. I think everyone was fighting for their own interests the whole way through, and yes, it kept getting delayed, and could have been more than the $1.3 billion for 2026 to 2031. Sure, it could have been. That's my answer, but
it is what it is.
It is, yeah.
It is what it is.
The Big Ten, yeah, they got fortunate with the timing of their media rights before the media market tightened. And
the Big 12 did as well. I mean, to be honest, it was starting to tighten, but able to get in before it really shrunk.
It was tight at that point, but your mark understood the tightness, and the Pac-12 didn't. So that's not fortunate. That's just a guy doing his job better than the Pac-12 guy. Basically, that's what it came down to.
And sort of segueing that into my other comment. Okay. I think it was Andy Staples' piece, or I'm trying to remember. It was last week. I don't know if it was Thursday or Wednesday or Friday of last week. It's sort of all running together, but it was one of those days where everything was just flowing in. Maybe it was even Monday, when Clemson announced, and it was just breaking news after breaking news on your show. I remember you mentioning that you thought your mark was. It had to do with your mark seemed to be on the side of the unequal distributions with the Big Ten and SEC getting bigger shares, and that Phillips wasn't able to stop that because he didn't have your mark and maybe the other folks on his side, and so he didn't have enough votes to stop it. And I think I remember you saying, that your mark was playing some level of cloak and dagger or playing a dangerous game. I forget the exact words you used. I don't remember that being fleshed out on your show because of sort of everything else that was breaking. Did you have something more there, or was I just hearing stuff that wasn't?
Sure, I'll flesh that out. I understand. I completely understand the beef, the people upset about the unequal revenue distribution of the playoffs. I would tell you this: since the beginning of the show, when we talked about the great gold rush of 26, I said over many, many times that was going to happen. Okay, that was going to happen. The elbows, the Big Ten and the SEC were going to put their chips in the middle of the table and make sure they got more of that pie. And Brett Yormark knew what's going to happen. So what did Brett Yormark, as reported, pushed for that clause, for that look-in clause. Brett Yormark, you know, yeah, he's playing cloak and dagger. The moment on October 30th, 2022, and I said it then, the moment that Brett Yormark locked up that deal with ESPN and Fox, he was targeting poaching of the Pac-12.
Oh, yeah.
And he's doing the same thing with the ACC. That's what I'm talking about, cloak and dagger.
So is it of your opinion? So this is just a survive and advance type situation. It's not a he's had backroom conversations with the Big Ten and the SEC and
no, it's
saying,
not. It doesn't get to that level. Nope. No.
Okay.
It's more. He talks.
Last man standing.
Continuous discussions with athletic directors and presidents, asking for certain valuations from the media companies. He can do that without there being, he can ask for certain valuations. He does that with Gonzaga. He brought it back to the presidents. So far they've said no. Probably doing that somehow with the UConn stuff. He's continuously doing that, and I think he's got plan A, B, C, D all lined up just in case something happens with the ACC. So yes, that's definitely he's doing cloak and dagger right now. No question about it.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Appreciate you fleshing that out, and it'll be interesting to watch it all play out. And it's been quite, I've likened this to, a soap opera for old guys or for sports guys, and it's been interesting to watch it all happen. And some of it is frustrating and sad, just to sort of see conferences struggle and programs get left behind and fan bases and there's plenty of blame to go around. Some of it you have to look in the mirror and see where schools could do better, fan bases could do better, leadership definitely could do better. Looking at the Pac-12 specifically there, I the more I think about this, and I'm sort of looking at who. Someone once told me it's important to know who to blame in life. I know that's a sort of a small-minded way to look at things and to look at life, but it's what most people do. I didn't cause this, not my fault. Who can I blame? The more I look at what Texas has done for decades now, they have been really a bad actor in the climate of college football. As an SEC fan, I'm worried. Have we let the fox in the hen house? And I'm first and foremost a Big 12 fan of BYU, but living here in Tuscaloosa, I worry about the behemoth that Texas is and just their track record. I'm interested to see if having the other blue bloods and having the other heavyweights can keep them in check here in the SEC. But time will tell. But they're probably enemy number one on my list of who's to blame for the current climate and the current situation of college football. But I'll let you other callers call in. Appreciate you giving me the time. Greg.
Appreciate it, Mr. Foley. Thank you.
Yep.
Great call.
All right. Take care. Yep. Bye-bye.
Chris Hughes, before I get to you super chat, I forgot about Tough Tony. I'm sorry, Mr. Gopher, Tough Tony. Washington State and Oregon State have settled with the Pac-10. Thoughts? We did a story on that. We went through an article from Front Office Sports. We went through that earlier in the Epis live show here. I think it went real good, as good as possible for Washington State and Oregon State, considering the situation.
Call from
Ryan Thomas.
Ryan Thomas, can you hold on a second here?
Sure.
I do appreciate your patience. I'm falling behind on some important stuff.
You're fine, Greg.
Thank you, Tony, for the great super chat. Appreciate your generosity once again. Chris Hughes, this is a before I get to Chris Hughes again. Chris Hughes has an interesting. I do want to get to Chris Hughes' question here. Cameron B, Rock Chalk, Jayhawk. Sorry, Greg, phone dropped on my end. No problem. I hope I sort of answered your question. I didn't really, because I really don't know the answer to your question. I don't know what would happen then. But I do think that Florida State would just sign a big old check, and I think the ACC will acquiesce to that humongous check if your scenario plays out. Thank you for your super chat, Cameron. Thank you for your continuous generosity to the channel. Chris Hughes, in my opinion, the case comes down to one question. Did all the members see the entire ACC deal with ESPN? Was the 2027 option disclosed to member? Yeah, that's a great... Did everybody see the entire media deal between ACC and ESPN? You know, we've got Jack Swarbrick saying, you know, ACC has a good case as far as he's concerned, and he's looked at everything. Clemson is pointing to the dirt. They can't shovel. Clemson can't shovel the dirt and let everybody see it in public view, but they're pointing to the dirt, and the dirt is that the media deal between ACC and ESPN. And then, of course, you have Florida State saying a bunch of stuff as well. And my question is, now everybody, you know, has different opinions. People reported that to us in public, to everybody. Brett McMurphy often said people have different opinions about what is in all this stuff, documents in Charlotte. One of my questions is, Chris Hughes just pointed out, did everybody see everything though? Did everybody pay attention to everything that was in those docs? Did everybody see the ESPN ACC media deal? Because Clemson is not, their board of trustees, they're not a bunch of idiots. They saw something. They've been working on this for 9 months. They saw something in that media agreement, something that none of us have seen. So did Jack Swarbrick even see it? Did he even care to see it? Did he even care to look? Did he know where to look? Not the gore, the media agreement. Great question, Chris Hughes. I don't have the answer, plus the question you asked about the 2027 option. But thank you, Chris, for the super chat. I appreciate it. Appreciate all the generosity so far this show. Thank you guys so very, very much. Ryan Thomas, thank you for your patience. I appreciate it. The floor is yours.
Hey, Greg. Wow, you got back-to-back Cougar callers. It must feel like a $5 drink night at the bar.
Yes, they've been great. Calls are always great.
But anyway, I want to point out just a key distinction between FSU and Clemson's argument. Okay. FSU's argument is, the question is the Gore valid? Meaning, was it entered in? Was the contract was the contract entered in legitimately in good faith? Meaning, did everyone have the appropriate information to make the decision? FSU's argument is whether or not the Gore is valid. Clemson's argument is whether the Gore is enforceable, and there are two different arguments. A Gore can be valid but not enforceable. It's like sort of like a non-compete arrangement. And
You're right.
You know, and the key thing is after that option after 2027, it could, because it had the option has not been exercised, it can legitimately be argued that the Gore's value for after that period is zero because there's no value affixed to it. And the other portion of that too is just a simple reality that in every single case where there's been a settlement, Greg, the exit fee has been sufficient to release that team from its conference's Gore. So, I mean, I think what Clemson's argument is basically saying, hey, if once we settle with you, whatever amount that is, we can walk away with their media rights. And that's basically Clemson's argument. I think it's a stronger legal position. And it's kind of working in tandem because pointing at the dirt by Clemson about, kind of not throwing the dirt, but pointing at the dirt strengthens Clemson's hands in the ability to be able to essentially reduce the amount of whatever settlement would be. FSU is just throwing everything to do both that, to reduce any potential settlement, but also, if there's a chance of getting out free, why not? I don't think they will. I think we'll get to a settlement, but that's the key distinction I wanted to make. Let me.
I might have misunderstood whatever. Let's go back to Clemson, okay?
Mm-hmm. To me, Clemson is saying. Now,
I'm saying this from a non-lawyer, right? I'm saying this from a guy who barely qualified to get in at St. Cloud State University back in the late 80s, okay? So that's.
But you're smarter than Chart Boy, Greg. You're smarter than Chart Boy.
That's the. I'm not smarter. I'm more accurate, but I'm not smarter. Okay. To me, the Clemson thing was, there is something in that immediate agreement between the ACC and ESPN, and if you read it together with the Gore, it's plain language that if we file a withdrawal notice, we're gone, and we get our grant of rights, and that exit fee, it's too much. We're willing to pay something on the exit fee, but it's too much. But the grant of rights, we're not paying anything on that because we own our rights. Once we give you the notice of withdrawal, we're gone. We're out of here. That's Clemson's argument.
That's been the market precedent, Greg. That's why their argument is, that's why Clemson's argument out of the two is probably more likely to succeed, because in every instance, whether it's Maryland or Texas and Oklahoma or AAC schools leaving, in every instance, once they paid the exit fee, the negotiated exit fee, they were released from their Gore.
Well, Maryland did not have a Gore. So scratch. No, they didn't have a Gore. They just had an exit fee, negotiated 60%. So forget about that one. Texas and Oklahoma, they had to deal with that Gore.
They paid 60%. In fact, they didn't actually pay anything, Greg. What happened was ESPN agreed to continue paying the Big 12 schools the same for the last 2 years of that TV deal, or the last year of that TV deal, without Texas and Oklahoma. That's what they agreed to do, and they agreed to basically fund expansion. ESPN is taking that out on its payments to the SEC for Texas and Oklahoma, and the SEC will withhold accordingly.
Well, I don't think. Again, I could be completely inaccurate here, Mr. Thomas, but I don't think what Clemson is trying to achieve here is, I don't think there's any precedent to it. 12 years before the end of the grant of rights, they're saying that the ACC grant of rights is limited in scope, and you can see it in plain language. If the ACC and ESPN would open up that media agreement for you, the judge, and everybody else to read, we think that we have our ownership of the grant of rights the moment we leave the conference. Notice of withdrawal. No payment on the Gore, and we'll pay you less than you think we're going to pay you on the exit fee. That's why I'm reading it.
That's exactly my point, though, Greg. Once you pay the exit fee, whatever that amount may be, you don't owe anything on the Gore because you've withdrawn.
Okay,
so,
but that would be unprecedented. Nobody has done that. Everybody has gone back.
Texas and Oklahoma is the example right there. They got out a year early. They were released.
Yeah, but they didn't have 13 years left of the grant of rights. That's the unique situation.
Yeah. But in essence, the purpose of the exit fee is to essentially indemnify the conference for any economic losses that will suffer.
Sure.
For the remaining period of which they're deriving value from the contract. That's what the purpose of the exit fee is. Now, if there's that unilateral option by ESPN in 2026 from 2027 to 2036, Clemson has a complete legitimate argument to say we don't owe you anything for that. And, because how can you? Because, no value's been affixed. And ESPN has had 3 months to perfect that option, and they haven't. And they keep on extending it, which shows that they have doubt about the value of the contract. So, I think at the end of the day, Clemson is right, because it's very similar to non-compete arrangements and employment agreements. They're nice and they're tough, but they're kind of hard to enforce. Are they valid? Meaning, can they be in a contract? Yes, but are they enforceable? That's a little harder. I think that's the real issue that comes down to it. FSU is basically trying to say this thing is garbage and we should all be able to walk away. And Clemson's saying, well, it may or may not be garbage, but, once we're out, we're out.
Yeah.
So, that's the distinction between the two. And, I think, I honestly think that the 3 times operating budget, or whatever the penalty is there, there's question of whether or not that's an excessive, whether that's a penalty or an excessive punitive arrangement. And, I don't know. So, I think that there's still some, that gore very well could still be valid, but the valuation of that gore can be up in the air. And that's what people need to realize is, even if it's still upheld, that doesn't mean that the settlement, that just means that, the ACC is in a better position for a settlement, but there's still a risk about what the value of that gore is.
Now,
so, I think...
Yeah. Now, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
So we've been given a heads up that Clemson is about to file a motion in Mecklenburg County. We don't know exactly when. We were told soon, and we were told not today, which doesn't really help. But what do you think would be what is that next step? What would Clemson say? Would like that one part of ACC filing, when they talked about how they were in the middle of a discussion with Clemson in regards to looking for a business solution, that Clemson asked for confidentiality. Clemson asked for protections, not to get sued by the ACC. And the ACC, within that motion, said, while we were documenting this protection and confidentiality for Clemson, to have a discussion with them about their membership. This was not about a discussion with unequal revenue sharing or what type of pop should we sell at the whatever, at the offices of Charlotte ACC. This is about Clemson's membership, i.e., this is about Clemson getting out of the conference. And then, the ACC said, we're documenting this, and then boom, out of nowhere, Clemson files this lawsuit in Pickens County. Would Clemson, if you believe, we'll just pretend that it is true. We believe it is true that Clemson's about to file something, or already has, and it hasn't popped up yet in Mecklenburg County. Would Clemson touch upon any of that, or what do you think?
I don't know. I think a lot of it's going to depend on what this Judge Cooper says, and says coming out of the preliminary hearing they sort of did. I think it's going to depend on where he thinks ultimately this should be decided. It could be surrounding that, or it could be just a whole bunch of other things. Maybe Clemson wasn't very happy about the ACC suing it, and maybe I don't know. It could be like the traditional legal blow by blow stuff that happens. But
yeah.
I certainly think ultimately at the end of the day, it's gonna be an interesting battle, and I'm curious to see what UNC does. if UNC does something, I think that's a very bad sign for the ACC.
Yeah.
So, I mean, but overall, my point is, I don't know if the fact that the ACC was talking to Clemson about membership, meaning a business solution, meaning, some sort of settlement. If you're settling, you're probably acknowledging there's a risk to your position on the Gore. I mean, if it was really as strong as Jack Swarbrick, or I like to call him Jack Wagon Swarbrick, says, why would you even bother to even talk about settling?
Yeah.
I mean, I think the very fact that you're having a discussion with Clemson about settling tells me that you may feel good about your position, but you don't feel certain about it. And, and maybe the number was too high, but I mean, I certainly think if the Gore is really worth that much money, if it's worth $600 million or something until 2036, why would you even entertain talking to Clemson?
Yeah.
So,
that was an incredibly interesting part of the motion at the lawsuit. Plus, why did they choose to put it in there? They didn't even have to put it in there, really.
They did, and I think, I certainly, Immaculate makes a good point. I think Swarbrick's just trying to position the private schools to get the best possible amount of money to tide them over until they figure things out. I mean, it may be that some of the state schools, like Louisville or others, they might kind of let out a significant lower fee or whatnot. There might be a larger plan in place. Like I said, Immaculate's, the Hawkeye's a lot smarter than me, so he can articulate these things better than I can. But I mean, I think that, I don't think Immaculate's on something. I think he's on to something, Greg. But anyway, I'll let you go. I've already taken up 17 minutes. So everybody have a good night and great show. Take care.
Appreciate the call, Ryan Thompson. One college football news that we did not cover. We've covered a lot today on this lazy Monday afternoon, early evening, the calm before the storm this week. This is the calmest day, Monday. This is where everything's calm. Everyone's relaxed. Tomorrow, Clemson has a Board of Trustees meeting. It's a compensation committee meeting. It probably ain't going to have nothing to do with what we're talking about, but maybe. Hold on.
Call from
JD.
JD, can you hold on for just one moment, please?
Yes, sir.
I appreciate it. So this is the calm before the storm. Tomorrow Clemson decided to slip in a meeting for tomorrow, but it's a compensation committee meeting. It probably has nothing to do with, it probably is just about the women's basketball coach. But then again, there's other stuff that the chair is going to talk about after they talk about the compensation for whoever is the new Clemson women's basketball coach. So we'll keep an eye on that. And then we got Mecklenburg County. Is the judge going to rule this week? I think he's going to. We'll see what happens. And then we got March 27th, Wednesday meeting in North Carolina, the Board of Trustees. March 28th, North Carolina, the meeting of the Board of Trustees. We believe the March 28th day is the day that somebody's going to talk about North Carolina's situation with the ACC. Got the chairman of the board, John Pryor, going to be having his remarks. The interim chancellor, Lee Roberts, is going to be making comments at the Board of Trustees meeting March 28th. We're going to be covering it live here at Peek Around the Corner. Early in the morning, we're going to flip that thing on. We're going to let it ride, see how it works, and see what happens. And then we were told today we were told that Clemson's about to file something in Mecklenburg County. We were told it's not happening today, but it's happening soon. So we did a spotlight today, spotlight on the Purdue Boilermakers. We covered the Oregon State, Washington State divorce, the Pac-12. We haven't even hit upon this story, and we'll just go over it 1 second. Trevor Etienne, Georgia's running back, booked on DUI and 3 other charges. Etienne, coming from from Florida transfer. The youngest brother, Jacksonville Jaguars running back Travis Etienne, was booked 4:35 a.m. Sunday. This guy, he's got the whole world in front of him. The whole world in front of him. For Florida Gators, he's rushed for over 1,400 yards, 14 touchdowns, 2 seasons. He never really got the rock as much as he should have gotten at Florida. Now Georgia, they're going to give him the rock. And what does he do? DUI, not a good choice. Hopefully the young man can get his priorities straight. Anyways, that was big breaking news a couple days ago. We did not cover it. But anyways, JD, thank you for your patience. Mr. Seminole, what is going on? Have you heard any buzz? What's the buzz happening out of Tallahassee, Clemson? The floor is yours, sir.
Well, we're in the mood to fling a flaming spear at the leprechaun's lucky charms is what we're in the mood to do. We have about had enough of Notre Dame. Going back to what you were talking about, Clemson, what's due next for Clemson is a response to the ACC suit, and also Clemson will file a motion to dismiss. Okay? I'm hoping they do it before the judge rules on the FSU case. I don't think I don't think that'll influence, but he did say that he thinks he implied that he will issue a ruling before the hearing in Florida, which is April 9th. And so I don't know that it'll be this week. I would assume it'd be next week, if not this week, because, do the math, timing, and, but yes, sir. So I'm very curious about the whole Clemson thing. The thing that Ryan was talking about earlier is the theory that I've had, and you and I have talked about it for a couple of years, is that, I've had the theory for a couple of years that the grant of rights is unenforceable to non-members of the ACC. But anyway, I'm not going to spend my time talking about all that. You were asking about whether or not ACC members have seen the contract. Let's remember how this worked. They were asked to sign the grant of rights before contracts were finalized. They were claiming ESPN required the grant of rights before these contracts were extended. And that's not the way that it worked out. No, excuse me, that's the way that it worked out. The trick is, I'm going to get on to Notre Dame here in a minute.
Yeah.
But let me focus on this. I don't think the ACC has a slam dunk case. Do I think they're going to win on some of it? Oh, absolutely. They're going to win on these teams signed the contract. They did this, they did that. I mean, how do you argue against those? But the way the judge was going, the implications he was making were that he was very he wasn't buying the ACC's argument that certain things weren't material changes. Their unilateral way to determine, to redefine what a material change is and what it isn't. He wasn't buying it. I really believe that if this went to trial, and it's not going to go to trial, but I really believe that if it went to trial, the ACC would lose on consideration and performance. They have failed at both. They have failed to meet their contractual obligations to the members. They have. Look where we are. They failed. And I just believe that if it ever went to trial, they would lose on that. And then there's other aspects. Again, you and I talked the other day. I think the judge is looking back at that 2021 date with some skepticism, whether or not Jim Phillips had the right to do what he did without receiving a vote or getting a vote and getting approval from the universities. There's a lot of landmines for the ACC, and that's my opinion.
Yeah.
But for Notre Dame, I missed the memo where Jim Phillips gave over operational, or let me say, public relations to Notre Dame and Jack Swarbrick to speak for the ACC, because he's doing more talking than what Jim Phillips is doing.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder how much behind the scenes Notre Dame is pulling the strings. You know, Notre Dame has been.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well,
Go ahead. I want your input.
They've always pulled the strings, right? I mean,
yeah, they've always pulled the strings,
yeah.
And we knew they were getting some preference because the ACC had this fanciful idea that they were going to join as full members, and it was never going to happen. But they have treated all of their membership like second-class citizens compared to Notre Dame. And right now, Notre Dame is looking out for their pocketbook, and they're trying to keep their independence. And you know, you're hearing little rumors behind the scenes that ESPN is telling the ACC they need to hurry up and settle this. You know, I remember TJ had something on one of his episodes today on his, not his FSU account, but the other one, that the rumor is that, because he referenced it, the rumor is that ESPN is pressuring the ACC to hurry up and settle, so that there's time to renegotiate the deal. Because let's just face it, why would Jim Phillips have to give ESPN an extension in 2021 if ESPN wanted to re-up the deal? Why is that even necessary? You know they weren't going to re-up. Not for the same, you know, not under the same circumstances. And because they would have. They would have already done it. And now they're in even a weaker position than they were back in 2021. So the preponderance of the evidence would show they're not going to renew it under these circumstances. Will they renegotiate a new deal into something else? Yes, I think they're more than happy to do that. But ESPN does not want this to get discovery, and I'm afraid the ACC is messing around. I'll keep this family language, messing around, just try to squeeze every dime out, and very soon they're about to head into dangerous waters. You know, did I think? What I mean is they're really, I thought dissolving the conference was far-fetched. Between now and June 30th, if this doesn't get resolved, now let me phrase this. I'm not saying this is going to happen, okay?
Yeah.
I'm saying it's like a 10 to 20% chance this happens.
Yeah.
There's a chance they'll try to remove the ACC leadership. That's getting thrown around now. Not just from FSU. I mean, from other people. Mm-hmm. And it may seem far-fetched, and it may be a 5% chance that could ever happen. But you get enough people, and you get enough people that are desperate enough to do, see that July 1st, that June 30th, July 1st date coming, where you've got 3 new pro ACC voters. A lot's going to happen in the next 90 days. A lot is going to happen.
I'll tell you, if the long shot comes in, and it is a long shot, where Judge Cooper of Mecklenburg County says this case in North Carolina is dismissed because the ACC filed their initial complaint and they did not have the legitimacy to do it on December 21st because they did not follow the Constitution, the bylaws of the ACC. They did not get the votes. And if that carries the day and all that happens, then yes, I think Jim Phillips would get replaced within the week. But beyond that, probably not. I don't think they're going to switch leaders in midstream here. But
it's not replacing the leadership because the lower tier, the bottom tier wants to replace him. It's that the upper tier gets enough support that things go nuclear. Again, I'm not saying that's going to happen. Okay, it's just people are mentioning it now, not just on message boards.
Okay.
People are mentioning it in social media and things like that. So it's just something to kind of watch and listen and you know. Yeah, I think people are just putting a lot of pressure on the ACC. I think where the court cases get heard is what is going to determine the settlement. I don't think we're getting really that far into discovery. If it gets to Florida, I think the ACC is going to be in a hurry to settle quick. If it's heard in North Carolina, they might drag their heels a little longer to try to get a higher settlement. But anyway, a lot of things. I got so much more I'd love to talk about, but listen, I'm going to get off the phone.
You got it, JD. I appreciate your phone call. Call us.
Hey.
This is the calm before the storm. Monday, March 25th. Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Appreciate
Yes, sir.
it.
Thanks so much.
You got it. Great call by Mr. Seminole JD. Anthony Carlson, Sparty, hold on.
Call from
Immaculate.
Immaculate, Mr. Hawkeye's on the line. Immaculate, can you hold on
Take care
a
of
second?
it. Yep.
Anthony Carlson, super chat. Super late to the video, but we avenge your goal for Saturday night, Greg. Go Green, Big Ten hockey tournament champions, the Spartans. First Big Ten hockey tournament champions, regular season champions, Big Ten champions. Not back in the old WCHA when they've won a couple, but Michigan State, congratulations. Go Green. Go Green. They get the number 1 seed. Let's pop that up on the board. Let's pop up that on the board. I know this is a college football YouTube channel, but we got to just put it up there just for a second. If this mouse would ever work again. There it is. Michigan State, a number 1 seed, a number 4th seed overall, playing Western Michigan. They're going to play the winner of North Dakota versus Michigan. On the other side of the bracket, it's Boston University, RIT, Minnesota, Omaha. Wisconsin's in the tournament. Maine's in the tournament. Cornell, Big Red is in the tournament. Quinnipiac is in the tournament. Boston College, Eagles, Michigan Tech. Michigan Tech is in the tournament. I got a very good friend's son who is at Michigan Tech. Very good tennis player. Michigan Tech. Denver, UMass. There it is. Mr. Hawkeye, thank you so much, Anthony Carlson. Congratulations. Congratulations for the Sparty hockey program has gotten off the mat, and it dominated this year. Thank you for the super chat, Mr. Carlson. Thank you so very much. Hawkeye, you're on the line. The floor is yours. The calm before the storm. What do you think is about to hit?
I asked the question, Jot. You might have seen it and passed over it. And if I was going to ask again, and if you can't talk about it, no problem.
Yeah.
I was curious. When you say that there might be a motion being filed,
Yeah.
would that possibly be a new thing, or is this more of an amended type of a thing? Do you know?
Probably an amended type of a thing. Amended complaint type of thing. Right?
So it's kind of like what we saw between UT and FSU with the back and forth.
Yeah, and yep. And I think the only thing we were told soon, but not today.
Yeah,
And that was hours ago. So, and we started our show saying that nothing has popped up. I don't think. I haven't looked, but yeah. So, and and again, I asked the question: could Clemson talk about? Can they? There's no more confidentiality. They're not protected anymore. ACC brought it up first, Immaculate, that there was discussions going back and forth. Will Clemson sort of elaborate on those discussions? Can they say that out? They can say that out in public now. Can they really kind of give the ACC the needle on this extended complaint if and when it happens?
I would think you would have to if the opposing side makes that a part of their thing, and they haven't even really like replied to this, because we're talking about in North Carolina court, not where Clemson filed initially in South Carolina. So they haven't actually responded to anything that the ACC basically said on their own, right? Like,
they haven't said.
Am I getting the courts mixed up here, or because the ACC filed on Clemson in North Carolina, but they did that after Clemson filed in South Carolina.
Yes, yeah.
So really, these are, technically speaking, unfounded assertions, as in they weren't like replying to something Clemson did. They just threw it all out there.
Yeah, they did. Yes, yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I was. That's kind of why I was asking. Is I was expecting to see something come back. You got to throw a reply into this. I mean, this is just like we saw at the FSU situation. I mean, this is kind of what the judge is thinking about before he'll actually listen to you in court. I mean, you don't just let the ACC say all of that and then not have your say. So this could be very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that may or may not affect someone else, possibly look to jump in.
Like North
who
Carolina?
Knows? What's that?
Like North Carolina?
I mean, they're the leading candidate, right?
Oh, yeah. They're definitely leading candidate. Yes.
I mean, I don't know. I don't claim to know. And it might mean absolutely nothing to them. But we just have to see what they have to say. And so, yeah, it's expected this week that I think we're going to see that. Personally, my thoughts on what happened for the hearing when we were following Mr. Rohan is that I don't think that went as well as the ACC and the ESPN would have thought. I think they had their points that they made, but I think those were kind of ones that everyone already knew, like, okay, there's some points to be made for their side. But I found that this is from not just from Mr. Rohan, but also the other gentleman who's there reporting. And he started off very, very kind of pro-ACC, but in the end, he's like, they were just getting reamed. They were getting reamed by this judge left and right. And everyone thought that, this whole thing is about having home court advantage and having a judge that's going to favor you. I think people are getting now, between this case and the previous one out west, that it doesn't really mean what people think it means. It's not a real home court advantage. It just makes it cheaper for you to be there. You don't have to travel. You don't have to pay your lawyers to go travel. But it doesn't mean you're just going to shoot right through and the judge is going to write you a ticket right on through. I mean, that is not what happened. If they thought it was going to happen, then that was really bad thinking on their part.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I don't know. That's what's up? That's really all I had. I was just kind of curious about that Clemson situation, because I think that's what we're all waiting on. I think we're waiting to see if that's out and if it gets merged together.
And I guess I'm speculating here, but I don't think the ruling from Judge Cooper is gonna take all that long. I know he said before April 9th, before the case in Leon County, but he had this case for a while. It sure sounded like he knew the ins and outs of this when he was asking the questions, right?
Sure, yeah.
He knows that speed's pretty important for both parties. I don't see it stretching very long. We knew it wasn't going to happen today. But that's just my take. What's your take on that?
He did some alluding to the Clemson situation, so I think that's on his mind as well. I think he's going to want to see what both sides present in the Clemson and ACC case. We may not actually get a return on the Florida State one until he sees this play out. Like, that's why it's important how many days this takes for Clemson to reply. Is the ACC then going to respond to that with an amended complaint? Are we getting back into this thing where he's going to I want to know if ESPN wants to go in on this one too? And I don't know how long he can take on Florida State. That's something that's a blind spot for me. You have to ask a legal, like maybe even an attorney, but someone who's more of a professional in dealing with that aspect of the courts. How long does he have before he has to come back? Because, I agree with you. I think he probably already has an idea, but I think he needs to decide if he's going to pass this on or if he's going to try and merge up these two cases.
Yeah. And
so he needs more information.
Is there any motivation for Clemson to file something in Mecklenburg County before the possibility of these two cases getting merged? I don't know if there's any motivation advantage for that to happen, or.
I think their motivation is pretty simple after what the ACC said about them, which
yeah.
I mean,
yeah,
whoa,
yeah.
I would, if I was them as an institution, I'd want to put, because this is being done out in public too, right? It's like this is kind of a court of public opinion. I would definitely want to get out there and say your side of this, because the ACC, I mean, with FSU, it was almost kind of like they were maybe laughing on the side, like, oh, God, they're really doing this. Okay. And then when Clemson did this, it seemed like the ACC took that serious. Yeah. And they struck out hard with their initial complaint. So I'm really interested in seeing what Clemson files in response to that. And I think that could possibly have a very large weight to the judge in terms of what he decides to do with this whole situation, because I very much think that he could come out right away and dismiss the motion to seal. That did not go well. I thought that was going to go well for the other side, for ESPN and for ACC.
That did not go well.
Terrible for them. Yeah. Like I don't think they said anything that he kind of turned on FSU about and said, well, it was, other than there was like maybe one comment about the Coca-Cola and Pepsi situation.
Yeah.
If you remember that. But, I mean, generally speaking, he was kind of going in on them. So, yeah, that's where I'm at. I think that your information about Clemson possibly this week, that's vital. So that's what I'm watching. It's pretty narrowed down. We need to see what they have to say in response.
Yeah. All righty, sir. I appreciate it. Calm before the storm. Hope to catch you probably tomorrow or sometime this week, sir.
Sometimes, for sure.
Yeah.
Have yourself a good, man.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Mr. Hawkeye. Mr. Hawkeye Immaculate with another fantastic phone call. If you're new to the show or if you haven't done so yet, please hit the subscribe button and have your notifications on. This week, this is the calm before the storm. So we could come on live at any time. Any breaking news this week, we're coming on live. So buckle up, brace for impact. The first thing you got to do is subscribe to our channel. The next thing you have to do for this National College Football YouTube channel is have your notifications on. And then smash the like button if you like our content. If you did not like our content today, hit the thumbs down button and let us know how we can better give you the information you desire as a college football fanatic. We have covered a lot today on this live show. The Purdue spotlight on the Boilermakers. Tomorrow's live show, we're going to a different team. You're going to have to find out who it is. You're going to have to tune in. Purdue Boilermakers, are they changing it up a little bit? Bigger, beefier offensive line, that wide receiver room. High on potential, low on pass production. We'll see what happens with the Purdue Boilermakers. Mako B. Dylan Thinneman, the great safety, true freshman safety last year, over 100 tackles, 6 interceptions. The Purdue Boilermakers, the spotlight was on them today. March Madness. Kerry Gold Nose. Greg, who is your Final Four pick to cut down the nets? I pick Creighton. I think they were the 3rd seed coming out of the region. I've got Creighton. I'm going to go ahead and take the shooters in this tournament. I know I could have taken UConn. I could have taken Purdue. I took Creighton. Took the private university out of the state of Nebraska. I think it's finally their time. Don't ask me who I got in the Final Four. I've got really no idea. Do I got Houston coming down to play Creighton? I think I got Houston, Creighton. I might have had Baylor. They just got beat. I don't even remember. But I know I've got Creighton winning it all. So, in other words, they have no chance. Greg the Cooler is freezing when it comes to college basketball. But thank you, Kerry Gold Nose, for once again your generosity to our football channel. I appreciate it, Kerry Gold Nose, so very, very much. I appreciate all the wonderful generosity shown to us today. Super chats, Ryan Willie's gifted memberships to the community. Thank you so very much. Once again, if you want to become a member of our channel to get the early Peak Cloak and Dagger membership only content, just go to the link provided in the description box, hit the link, hit the join button, and become a Cloak and Dagger early Peak member. I want to thank all the great comments that have come in today. Incredible comments, incredible phone calls. This is Monday, March 25th. The calm before the storm this very important week in college football. Buckle up. We believe Clemson is about to make their next move in Mecklenburg County Court in North Carolina against the ACC. Not happening today, happening soon. We're going to be covering it all. Clemson Board of Trustees has a compensation committee meeting tomorrow. The Board of Trustees is probably only about compensation to the new women's college basketball head coach. But then again, there's going to be comments after that happens in that Board of Trustees meeting. And we're going to follow it. We're going to report it to you, whatever it is, whatever happens. Then on Thursday, March 28th, North Carolina Board of Trustees meeting. John Pryor, the chair, is going to talk. The interim chancellor, Lee Roberts, is going to talk. That's the second day of a 2-day Board of Trustees meeting in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. We're going to be covering that here at Peek Around the Corner as well. Plus Mecklenburg, Leon County, Pickens County, college football, spring football games, April 13th, April 20th, Michigan, Ohio State on Fox. Their spring games are on Fox. Holy smokes. So stick with us here at Peek Around the Corner as we go through the spring off-season, spring 2024. When we get into the summer, we're going to be doing our way too early predictions for conference champions, who's going to get to the 12-team playoff, I think it's going to be the most exciting college football season because of that expanded playoffs. The most exciting college football season in my lifetime. I'm sorry to the ones who are so pure, who only love the rankings to make the number one, to make the champion, or the ones who like the final two or the final four teams. I love the expanded playoff. And I think it's going to work fantastic this year. We shall see. But stick with us here at Peek Around the Corner as we cover everything in college football. Until next time, which is going to be tomorrow. Until next time. From all of us at PATC to all of you, please, you all take great care of each other. Thank you so very much.